Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. All right, college football week 14. We just got done with week 13 yesterday. On the week 14, the conference championship games. 2 more weeks left. Week 14, conference championship games, and week 15, the annual Navy versus Army game, and then we have the bowls, and then we will crown the national champion on January 8th. So right now, going into week 14, we have 5 teams that are undefeated. Liberty Flames, Conference USA, we're not going to count those because there's no chance they're making the playoffs. I'm sorry, there's not. So the 4 big Power 5 conferences: Big Ten, Michigan 12-0, ACC, Florida State 12-0, Pac-12, Washington 12-0, SEC, Georgia 12-0. Unless we have an upset, that's your championship playoff 4 right there. Now, if we get into upsets, then yeah, that's gonna, because we have Ohio State with 1 loss. They lost to Michigan. Now, if Michigan loses to, who's Michigan playing this week? Iowa. Michigan's got 1 loss. Ohio State's got 1 loss. But is Ohio State loss to Michigan a better loss than Michigan's loss to Iowa? So it technically would be. Does that put them in the possibility? Texas, 11-1, but their loss is to a 9-3 Oklahoma team. But Texas, they face the 9-3 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Can they win? Do they even have a shot? Oregon, 11-1, their only loss is to Washington. If Washington loses to, gotta find it here, Oregon, does Oregon get in because they have 1 loss, but their loss was to Washington, but Washington's loss is to Oregon. That could be fun. And then Alabama, if they beat Georgia, does that get Alabama in because their 1 loss is Texas and that 1 loss was 11-1 team, or does that keep Georgia in even though they lose because they're 11-1? We won't know. That's why, if you saw my preseason video where I did the kind of the realigning of all the teams and stuff, for this exact reason, because in that realignment, when we came to conference championship weekend, we have 8 conferences, we have 8 games. The winner of the game moves on to the playoffs, 18 playoff. If you lose, you go home or go to the bowl games. So you don't have this, well, if this person thinks this, if this person thinks this, and this is what would happen kind of deal. So as long as everybody wins out, we know the 4. If they don't, it'll be fun to figure it out. All right, let's run down these games. Last week, 19-2 on straight-up picks. In week 13, 12-9 against the spread, 13-8 on the over/under, 44-19, 69.8%. Exactly. More than I wanted it to be, actually. 60% is the goal. Straight-up picks this year, 236-58, 80.2%. Boom. Against the spread, 130 and 134, 54.4. And over-under, 149 and 145, 50.6. Gives us a grand total of 61.79% accuracy rate. That is definitely where I want to be at, above 60. Love it, love it, love it. It's been so much fun. Can't wait to week 14 and throughout the bowl games. See if we can crown us a national champion January 8th. I think it's when it is, January 8th. All right, so out of the American Conference, 1 versus 2. Both teams 8-0 in the conference. We have the SMU Mustangs 10-2. Tulane Green Wave 11-1. Tulane is favored by 4. Right off the bat, I'm going with the upset, SMU +4. I do that because they have a better defense and a better offense. SMU +4 cover and over on the 50.5. Conference USA 1 versus 2. The 10-3 New Mexico State Aggies versus the 12-0 Liberty Flames. These 2 teams met in week 2. Liberty won 33-17. Liberty is favored by 11. I think they continue with that. They win. They cover under on the 54.5. So we will have 13-0 Liberty Flames, Conference USA, that has no chance of making the playoffs. We could have every one of these 4 undefeated teams lose. Liberty is not making the playoffs. That's why we need to change it. Matter of fact, with Kennesaw State getting added for next year, I will be doing another realignment video, adding them in. They're going to kind of tweak it a little bit and kind of do a couple things there and kind of reorganize it because when you start when I did the realignment going through all the schools, once you change that, add that one school, and it's not just plug and play, you got to literally remap it all. So it's kind of fun to do. So probably do that either after the championship game, or we'll do it preseason next year before the season starts. Probably right before the season starts next year, and have that kind of the kickoff to college football season. So Liberty wins, covers under on the 54.5. Out of the Mid-America Conference, the MAC, East versus West, the 10-2 Miami, Ohio Redhawks versus the 11-1 Toledo Rockets. And on October 21st, Toledo won 21-17 versus Miami of Ohio. Toledo's favored by 8. I got Toledo winning, Miami of Ohio covering, and under on the 46. Mountain West, 1 versus 2. 7-5 Boise State Broncos versus the 9-3 UNLV Running Rebels. Boise State's favored by 2.5. I like the Rebels here, though. I think because they are a better team, I have them winning, covering. I'm giving UNLV plus 2.5, under on the 58.5. Sun Belt. This is unique. East versus West, 2 versus 1. Appalachian State Mountaineers, second in the East, because number 1 in the East at 11-1, the James Madison Dukes, but this is their second year transition from the FBS to the FCS. In the first 2 years, you have a postseason ineligibility. They actually talked about going to court over this because of the record and everything. They ended up not doing that. So the 11-1 James Madison Dukes will not be playoff ineligible until next year. Obviously, your second season transferring from FBS to FCS, or FCS to FBS, excuse me, and you're 11-1, and even though you're in the Sun Belt, you're still in a top tier conference. Kudos to them for that. Can't wait to see what they can do next year. But Detroit Trojans 10-2 are going to take on Appalachian State for the Sun Belt title. Detroit's favored by 6.5. I got them winning, covering it under on the 51.5. Special note: one of Troy's 2 losses was to James Madison's. If they were in this game, more than likely they would have won. So we will see how that transition for next year when they're playoff eligible will go. All right, now to the Power 5. These are the big boys. These are the ones that are going to fight for that national championship. ACC 1 versus 2. Louisville Cardinals 10-2. 12-0 Florida State Seminoles. Florida State is favored by 4. I got them winning, covering over on the 51.5. Special note: I have all 4 undefeateds moving on. Big Ten East versus West. Michigan Wolverines 12-0. Iowa Hawkeyes 10-2. Michigan's favored by 23 this game. But what if? What if Iowa has just that perfect game? What if Iowa upsets Michigan? How is that going to upset the playoffs? It's going to be funny. Because you know what? Then you had that 11-1 Ohio State. Then you have the 12-1 Michigan. Then you have, if something else blows, it's going to be wild. Like I said at the beginning, I don't envy this committee at all. That's why I think we need to get that realignment. I think it's important. I think it's big-time college football. Yes, it's amateur sports, but it's big-time college football. It's a billion-dollar industry. You got to have, instead of having just a group of people sitting in a room going, well, I think this team will. I think this team will. I think this team will. I think this team. I think this team. This is the team that goes. You need to settle it on the field. But Michigan winning. I got Iowa covering, and then over on the 35.5. Big 12. Oklahoma State Cowboys 9-3. They beat Oklahoma, who was 10-2. You have a 10-win Power 5 conference team, not even sniffing the conference championship level in the playoffs. 11-1 Texas Longhorns. Texas is favored by 13.5. I got them Texas Longhorns winning. Oklahoma State covering and over on the 55. Pac-12. Is this the last Pac-12 conference championship game ever? Next year there will be 2 teams left. So Arizona State, California, Colorado, Oregon, Stanford, UCLA, USC, Utah, and Washington are all leaving. That leaves Oregon State and Washington State in the Big 12 next year, or Pac-12 next year. So this is the end of an era, I believe. But you know what? Are they still a Power 5 team with 2 teams? Are they still the Pac-12? Are they the Pac-2? Should those two teams just move the Mountain West and get rid of the Pac-12 altogether, which I hate to see that happen. But definitely we need to do something because we're going to have a Big Ten conference that's going to have teams from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast and everywhere in between. We need to get it to more regional, more having, just check out that realignment, kind of redo it. I'm going to redo it in the preseason next year. But I think the final Pac-12 champion will be the Washington Huskies, 12-0. They did beat Oregon in October 14th, 36-33. But will this push Washington into the national championship? Obviously, 4 teams undefeated, so they should be there. But can they win the national championship and then go off the Big Ten? That would be, especially if they beat Michigan to get there. Wouldn't that just be kind of a, I won't say slap in the face, but kind of a, hey boys, we're here kind of deal for Washington? I think that would be pretty cool. Oregon's favored by 9.5, which shocks me. I get it. Oregon's a great football team. Their high-powered offense, 45.25 points a game. Their defense, 15.9. You know what? Screw it. Washington plus 9.5. Under on the 67.5. Washington goes undefeated, 13-0, and wins the Pac-12. Then our final game, the biggest game I think, SEC East versus West. 12-0 Georgia Bulldogs versus the 11-1 Crimson Tide. Georgia's favored by 5. Whew. What if Alabama wins? Could we get... I mean, that's the thing. If Alabama wins and everything else stays the same, who goes in? I think Georgia goes in, actually. I think regardless, if Alabama beats them, I think Georgia goes in. But I could make a case for Alabama with 1 loss and Georgia 1 loss and Alabama beat Georgia. Alabama being in. But we'll see. It's all going to be played on the field. I got Georgia winning, covering the 5, under on the 55.5. So I have status quo when it comes to this championship, this playoffs. I have Michigan, Florida State, Washington, Georgia. Those are your championship 4. Those will be the 4 teams going for the 2024 NCAA College Football National Championship. That is Week 14. Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for Week 15, Army-Navy, and all the bowl games as well, and NFL. Got some NASCAR topics, pro wrestling topics. It's all right here on Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports channel content.